Hi guys, we're now live for episode 5 of the Stadia Source Roundtable. How you guys doing?
Good.
Jak się masz?
So this week we're actually joined by StadiaRokks and StadiaTalk, and they're going to be joining us to talk about all things Stadia. And we're actually missing one person at the moment, which is Ash, but he should be around soon, so he'll just pop in whenever he gets his camera sorted.
When he wakes up.
When he wakes up, yeah.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Is he back?
Oh, this is the star. This is Misha. No, she's trying to run away.
Jesus Christ, the cat. That cat's more famous than all of us.
She's gone.
The sensor bar is needed.
Ooh. And here is Ash, late to the party as usual. How you doing, Ash?
More.
Not bad.
Get a light, man. You're looking a little dark over there.
No, it's just this camera. It's
I always say he streams to a potato, does Ash?
yeah.
Somehow managed to hook it up. But yeah, so we've got 5 people in the chat so far. I just want to kind of say a quick hello to everybody. So we've got Jay Smith, how you doing? Charles, hello as usual. You always turn out. Nice to see you. Reg of Snaz, that's how you pronounce it. Club Stadia, yeah, trolling you with the Green Hill. Number 1 Sonic fan here.
There's got to be like a Sonic off at some point.
Yeah, there's got to be. And Stadia First, hello. So, what the devil have you guys been playing this week? Let's start with Ash.
Woo.
Yeah,
for me,
start with you because you were latest in.
Thank you. For me, mainly it's been Dig 2 again, Assassin's Creed, and I've had a little dabble with Farming Simulator, which I regret.
Yeah, I think I remember you playing that with Tommy in the background.
When are you next going to play that with me again, Ash?
As long as you don't drive my tractor into the water again.
Bought like a 300 grand piece of equipment and I nicked it and drove it straight into the lake.
Oh, don't let Adam hear you say that.
I think you're right.
So, Tommy, then, what have you been playing apart from Farming Simulator?
Yeah, no surprise. NBA 2K20. I'm on my 3rd career playthrough now on that game. Just loving it still. It's a quality game. Other than that, I restarted SteamWorld Quest as well because I want to give those games some love, and I'm going to do Quest before I do Dig 2. That's pretty much it, really, to be fair. I've not had a great deal of time online this week.
Fair enough. Rokk, what have you been playing? I know I spoke to you yesterday on the Glorious Stadia podcast, but
Deja vu for you, mate.
I know we'll try not to repeat too much.
Yeah. So it's actually last night after we'd finished on the old Glorious Stadia podcast. I think I played about 5 games in half an hour, and somebody was saying to me today, a guy from my Destiny clan on PlayStation, he was saying, well, I don't see the point in Stadia. I said, well, I played 5 games in half an hour. You try doing that on your PlayStation. So yeah, finished Metro Exodus for the 2nd run through. Started the 2 Kernels DLC that there's 1 or 2 DLCs that you can buy on Stadia. I've been doing a bit of Grid, played some Dig 2 today. Haven't done as much Destiny as I normally play, and I want to try and get into the new season. Avoiding Trials of Osiris, or Trials of the Nine as I called it to Chase last week, largely because the only time I ever completed it, I was sat in somebody's backpack in Destiny 1 just waving the flag as he shot everybody up, and got my Mercurian rewards, but I can't see me doing it again ever. So
You've
yeah,
been flawless then, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's been me this week.
I think I've been flawless about 3 times, but my brother carried me every single time, so he's not
Best
converted. He's not converted to Stadia yet, despite my attempts to try and convert him. So
Yeah, it's got to happen.
yeah. So what about Mr. Duncan, who's in quarantine apparently?
I have completed Dig 2 this week. I've near the end of the first one. I think I'm on the last boss. I've done some Destiny 2. I've done some Grid. I've been just started Horizon Zero Dawn, but we don't talk about that. And
Best game ever.
I'm really enjoying that now, and that's about it. I'm looking forward to the Division 2 this week for something on Stadia to get stuck into.
Yeah. Okay, and Chase, what about you?
Very minimal amounts of any type of gaming between what I thought was going to be a relatively good closeout to a week off from work has turned into a living nightmare. So with all this CV stuff going on, I've just been dealing with work-related stuff. I ended up picking up some type of a bug. I mean, it's definitely not that. It's more of kind of like it's like one of those 24-hour bugs, where you just kind of feel like a train wreck in the beginning, and then you kind of feel a little bit better. So I'm feeling a lot better today, but yesterday and Friday, not so good. But I did play, actually, it's a little bit of a lie. I did play a little bit of Destiny earlier in the week, and it's usually what I always do right now. When I get home from work, I'll do a little bit of Crucible and, just try to blow some steam off. And there's just so many games that's in this back catalog, man. I feel like I'm just so far behind on so many different things.
Oh, we've lost Ash.
Master Potato just decided he doesn't know.
He's back again.
It's not going to be a big mess.
Oh, so yeah, I've been playing. I jumped on Destiny 2 for a little bit, trying to play Trials of Osiris with you at one point, Chase, but we couldn't find it, and it had not gone live, I think, at the time.
Oh, no.
But yeah, I'm trying to get my artifact on that one. I've also been playing a bit of Spitlings again with you, Chase, and Eddie, and Ashes to Ashes as well.
How did I forget that?
Obviously uneventful. But my father-in-law tried to get me, as I said, to rock in yesterday's TGOS podcast, Metro Exodus as well. Been trying to get into that. And finally, also, I had a couple of races on Grid as well, just to try that out. But other than that, I've not been playing anything else. I've actually been reminiscing over, I don't know if you guys saw, we put on Twitter, some people have been making videos about my game. So, a game that I made 12 years ago. So it's been weird to kind of see some of the feedback from that, but that's not really Stadia related. So
I just point out that it works better than a lot of games that released today.
you guys have been telling me that I need to release it for Stadia as well, which I would absolutely love to do if I could.
Release it.
Yeah, I don't think Sega would be too happy with that. But oh well.
Companies only usually have an issue when it's when you're charging for it, so freebie.
Pro game.
So basically, I want to jump right into some of the games that we know to be coming soon that have been announced this week, and the first one of those is actually the Monopoly game. So one person's excited at least.
I've played it. I love it. It's great fun.
I mean, I've played the board game, but I've not played the game.
I've played the Ubisoft version of it. It's really good. It's great. Animations are great. The little fella and the little metal dog. It's not, there's nothing downside about it.
I do think, actually, as much as kind of take the mick out of it, I think it will be a fun game to be able to play with, with YouTube content creators, because with the features that are going to be baked into it, whilst they're probably not going to be there when the game launches, which is a bit of a disappointment, really, because I don't really see the point in bringing that game without having crowd play and the interactions that you can have from
made
that.
for it.
Yeah, exactly. It actually will work really well with that setup.
Maybe a bit of Stream Connect in the top corner so you can see what your other characters are on. Again, I'm just mimicking what was said in the TGOS podcast yesterday, and the whole Stream Connect. Sorry, how you can incorporate that into games and whether it needs to be, but whatever floats the boat. So it's a good get for Stadia then, we think.
No.
Yeah, I mean it's past the play. You can play with the whole family. I don't think it's got remote play. Certainly doesn't have on the PlayStation. But it's a nicely implemented version of Monopoly, and let's face it, there isn't anything else at the moment in that kind of genre within the Stadia library. And I think I love the way that they seem at the moment to be putting out pairs or sort of a little hat trick of games in a similar genre to appeal for all sorts of people. That's the way forward. So I think it's really good. It's a great addition.
You say it was like past the pad.
You can do it that way,
that type
yeah.
of game?
We did it that way, but you can play multiple players. I'm assuming it'll be the same here. So if you could have couch play. But yeah, I mean, in our case on the PlayStation, we just passed it round. But it's good. It's got progression. It's really nice animations. A few nice little features. It's a polished game.
Very good. So yeah, I might have to check that one out. Anybody else got any thoughts on it?
As soon as it's out, I'm getting it straight away.
It probably won't be very expensive. I would have thought it's going to be fairly low priced. It's been around for a long time.
It's a good game to diversify the library. Like I think again, it comes down to them offering different experiences, right, to everybody. And I've played Monopoly games on PC in the past, and they can be fun. I'm thinking back to like another game that really is fun on PC, and it's Risk. Like there's another one that like I don't enjoy playing that one in the board game version, but I love playing it digitally. So there's going to be folks that are going to be happy for this, and I do think this is probably one of those games where I would be shocked if it's anything above $15. If they put it above that, it's going to probably not do as well.
No. Yeah, I was going to suggest probably like a $9.99.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of price.
I'm going to say 20 quid.
Well,
It's just there for the build up for Uplay Plus. I'm going to go out there and say 20 quid.
Yeah, it's breadcrumbs to Uplay Plus, but they kind of put it in as an addition, and there are all these games. Oh, and Monopoly. So I'm not expecting it to be a huge price.
Just to touch on what Shay said then as well, like going back to old school games that you don't necessarily think of when you think of playing any kind of console or PC game, but Uno on the 360 got an awful lot of attention back in the day. There were literally hundreds of thousands of players on that game whenever you opened it. It's potential to do a similar thing.
It's £24 on my Xbox, by the way.
Is it?
Yep.
That'll be interesting to see how they
right
price it then. They've got a few like it. We've got Trivial Pursuit from the same stable. And it's quite nice because all of their kind of Hasbro type games have a sort of a progression that's going on in the background as well. So you can sort of see how you progress around all of their board games, which is quite cool. And they give you lots of rewards and achievements. So yeah, I think it'll do well.
Correct. Just in a correction, it was £24 for the Super Duper pack. It's £12 for the normal pack.
Okay.
I was going to say that is extremely high for that game.
Yeah, and I think I paid about £6-7 for it on a PlayStation deal at some point.
That's one of those games that they constantly do sales on too.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it on a rotation of sales multiple times. So
Yeah,
No Time to Game.
It'll be a
62's
stocking filler.
got a very apt comment for this as well.
Why is Monopoly true 4K? Stadia's dead if it's not true 4K. Or is it upscale?
No, but they said it was coming in 8K.
full HDR, 5.1.
So how you doing, Ruff? Stream Connect, yep. Like I said, harkening back to our conversation yesterday. So Club Stadia also said the team that developed the Switch version of the game is doing the Stadia port, and the Switch version was very poorly optimized, so hopefully this turns out better.
Ouch.
But
Well-
Stadia's got the grant, or allegedly.
Well, if I'm guessing that they're going to have to, again, using that word port, they're going to have chance to kind of go back and redo some of those optimization tricks that maybe they missed out on the first time. So here's
I'd
hoping for
imagine
that
it's
one.
probably easier to port. Careful how I say this. Port to Stadia than it is to Switch.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, you might be right on that one. So we've got some predictions of prices here. By the way, hello, Michael. Canadian
Yeah,
dollars.
it's going to be cheap.
So, moving swiftly on then, The Crew 2 release date. Now, we've known that The Crew 2 was coming for a long time. It was one of the games that was shown kind of at launch, I think, or near to launch anyway. I remember it being on the games page fairly early on, but we didn't know when it was coming. So we've now got a release date for that. I don't have it to hand at the second, but it is on the website. Duncan, you know this stuff off by heart.
I'm in quarantine. I can't remember. Is it
March 25th.
25th? There we go. I
March
knew what.
25th.
In fact, March in general, I just see as being a fairly expensive month for Stadia.
Yes, but in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you better start acquiring those husband tokens when you start using the credit cards, gentlemen.
I'm not allowed those anymore.
So is anybody excited for this game? Anybody played it already on another platform, or?
I haven't, but I played the original Crew, and to be completely honest, I didn't enjoy it. I liked it at first, and it wasn't a graphics thing. Like, I kind of just got to the point where I was like, I've just driven for like 2 hours across country, and now I'm just gonna turn around and drive back to where I've come from. It seemed almost like that GTA 5 level of go over here, now go back to the exact same place that you've just come from. That's my only concern with it. I mean, the fact that you can now take to the skies, the sea, 2 wheels, there's a lot more diversity to this one. And I do think that with a platform like Stadia, it's probably going to be worth a look at. But I will hesitate to say I'd wait for a pro deal, at least on this game for myself.
Yeah. So this game is also obviously going to have Stream Connect on as well. Speaking of which, I'm guessing so you can kind of see what the other drivers are seeing outside of their window and whereabouts they are, if you're that way inclined. So, anybody excited for that? I think it will give the Stadia version maybe a boost over the other consoles.
Yeah, anytime they can add Stadia-only features, it's always good to show it off. If they can hook it in nice and easy, they should be doing it, and it actually gives a bit of value.
Do you think that they're showing it off just to show it off because we're not seeing it? If you know what I mean. A lot of people saying that a lot of the Stadia features aren't here yet, so they're kind of just putting it into games, maybe unnecessarily, just to kind of say it is here.
I'll say to answer that question, I don't think it's that. I think it's just that Ubisoft is more forward in the development process with these games. Like, they've already been playing around with these APIs. They know how to implement them once they build the game on top of the Vulkan and the Linux API. So I don't think that's it at all. I think it just has to do with Ubisoft has the secret sauce. They've got the they've got the framework already in place, and it's just easy for them just to throw it on. They know it can work, and then they're done. You know, it's basically, I think, it.
Yeah, and it's obvious Stadia is becoming the new Noah's Ark, isn't it? Because you've got to have 2 of every game type. So now we've got the male to the grid female. So, you know, if you kind of look at it that way, so all the kind of genres are all going to have a male and a female. So they've got to pair it up. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, for me, I'm excited for the Crew 2, but not overly. Played the Crew like Tommy, but I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a bit of a drag driving from one side to the other to drive all over kind of thing. But I was doing it with a few mates, so we made it like a little road trip, which wasn't as bad. I've not played the Crew 2 properly. I've done the beta on PC when it was started coming out years ago. Which again, really enjoyed it, being able to just fly a plane as high as you can, turn automatically into a boat and just like plummet straight back down as a boat.
Which is what I think you were on about yesterday, Rokk, when you said it was the Transformers. So,
for me anyway, I see myself more picking up the Crew 2 and the Division 2 over Doom, because I'm expecting both of them to come in as pro deals this week.
You're crazy.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Definitely on Division 2.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that's crazy about Crew is it's still almost full price and it's been out for almost 2 years. Like that's insanity to me. But then the Division 2 isn't. So yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see the prices. I don't think you're going to see the Division 2 any more than $10, but I could absolutely be wrong on that because they may justify the pricing in regards to the cross progression and the cross play. But I think it's a little if they don't have a pro deal on the Crew 2, man, that's going to be a missed opportunity, especially if it's a full price title at this point.
But then again, they gave Grid away, and that was fairly recently. So, I don't know. I think they may feel that it kind of clashes a little bit. But I think Division 2 definitely. I mean, we know they reduced the price globally to encourage players back on for the Warlords of New York DLC. I don't know how that's been selling. I know certainly the Die Hard Division 2 folk picked it up. I don't know. I'm assuming that the drop in price encouraged a few new take-ups. Certainly, it'll be lapped up with Stadia. I mean, it's a big pull, even if it's been around for a while. So I think it's a good shout that it'll be a pro deal. I always expected it to be the free pro game for this month. So I was surprised that it wasn't, but then they gave us Grid. Can't really complain.
No. Which brings us on to the next topic, which is obviously the Division 2 Warlords of New York. So, yeah.
Here's one I made earlier.
Dun, dun, dun.
So the Warlords of New York and the Division 2 is coming out on 17th. So you've only got a couple of days to wait for that one. So who's picking it up? Hands up.
Depends on the price for me. That's
Just you, Tommy.
That's the only factor. If it comes, I still think it's going to be 30, 35 quid.
I think it's going to be 30. I think it's going to be 30 or 35 quid for the full edition. I think it's going to come on Pro because they've actually got it on sale on Xbox and I'm pretty sure on PlayStation as well for £35 for the Division 2 and the expansion.
DLCs.
Yeah.
So
I'm expecting the base game to be a tenner as a Pro deal as well.
They may not even sell it without the DLC. To be fair, it may be a one package.
Similar
It may
to
be.
Destiny.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Free to play.
Don't forget, Tommy, we have to buy Stadia games just to support the platform, even if we
Yes.
don't like
Oh,
it.
Jesus.
Well,
Remember
I mean,
that
Duncan's
conversation.
doing that for everyone, right? He's got like every game in the library so far.
That's
I
because
wish.
he's in with Google. That's why he's
Yeah.
like, give me that
can't
game, give
wait.
me this game.
Can't wait for the Google Connect when Phil Harrison's just like rips off a mask and it's Duncan's did that.
To be
That's why he's in
absolutely fair,
quarantine.
I would be making all the mistakes he's making.
I was going to say, we're going to see a face reveal in a minute. It's not just Ash's the other day, it's Duncan's. It's like, he's been live in our podcast this entire time. Wow.
Great game, Division 2. I mean, I was a big Division 2 fan, big Division 1 fan. Abandoned it when I moved to Stadia, so I'm really looking forward to picking it up again and starting again because it's the progression that makes it. I think when you get to the end game, it's great if you play often with people that you know, but I think the real fun for me is running around in the early days, building up your character, getting all the decent gear and stuff, so I'm really looking forward to that.
You're not going to be utilising the cross save then?
No, not in the dark zone anyway.
Yeah, I've played a bit of the Division 1. I've not played Division 2 before, so I'd be interested to try that out as well. Is like you said about the end game, is there much content in that regard?
It's massive.
I know, for example, Destiny 2, like there's a lot of end game content with Destiny 2, so
There's a huge amount, but I think for me the excuse me, the problem with Division has always been the complexity of the stats behind all your gear, because that's not how my brain works. I'm a very sort of visual person, so having to sit there for hours on end working out what works best, and but I know they've simplified that recently, and I think it works a bit better now, a bit more rationalized. But I think a little bit like Destiny as well, they tend to sort of make the game quite hard when you get to the end game to appeal to people long-term, relatively hardcore players. And I think if you're, for me, that maybe the one issue with Division as a game on on Stadia is the notion that it's by and large a lot of casual players, and I think you do have to put a fair bit of grind into Division, but there's a huge amount going on. It will last for absolutely hours.
I'm just looking for like player retention. That's all. So.
Yeah. Well, there's crossplay is going to make a massive difference, and that in and of itself, I think it opens up. And if this is the vanguard for a whole slew of crossplay games, then we're in for a treat.
Oh, you're going to say something then, Tommy?
I was just going to say,
Sorry,
I played Division 1 right up to the first DLC, played that as well, and I can't remember what came out from that point, but although I had the season pass, I never actually returned and played the other DLC. But I very much remember that game, much like Destiny 1, at its end was all about min-maxing for stats. That's all the end game was, creeping by one literally every couple of days to get to that point. And I know, like you say, recently they actually revamped the system, and it's funny to see that they've done that for the Division 2, and Breakpoint is having immersive mode come out on the 27th, and exactly the same thing. I think they realised that the Ghost Recon series was never about that stats. It was always whatever gun you had, it was just your personal preference, and it was equally as usable throughout the entire game. And played a little bit with Adam and Chris today to get some of the captures for his review, and I was chatting to him about it then, and I just feel like this is, at the moment, Breakpoint is not a Ghost Recon game. It just feels like they've picked the Division up and chucked it onto some random islands somewhere instead. It's much more similar to that than the Ghost Recon series.
Definitely.
Who's breaking the law?
That'll be outside, but not the cat's called.
Yeah, it's like a baby version of Division 2, to be fair. I've completed Breakpoint on Stadia. I bought it a week after it came out on PlayStation, which was gutting, but it had to be done. And, I enjoyed it, but I haven't gone back to it, to be fair. I played the Terminator drop-in event. That was quite good fun, but, you could do it in a day. And I haven't gone back to it. Division's a different beast altogether. And Ubisoft have invested hugely in the title. I mean, they will not let it die. This is a really interesting franchise. So, yeah, it's going to be good. And I think it'll be a massive success on Stadia.
I think it's going to be a film next as well. The way that the Warlords of New York trailer was dropped, I felt like it was going to be a cinematic trailer instead of a game. It was quite good. Yeah, I do just kind of wish that they'd stuck to their original plans, though, where like bottles of water were going to be currency and stuff like that in the game. That really excited me about that game.
And you were supposed to be able to play with an app, and that looked really cool, didn't it? So you could sort of play remotely and drop stuff on enemies and things, or your teammates were playing. Didn't happen.
Maybe that's possible down the line for Stadia as well.
Yeah,
because I know we've seen that tech demo of, like, for example, someone was running around on the ground, and then you could have someone from the aerial view telling them where to go and dropping things into the match, or it could be crowd choice as well. So there's potential there for it. Whether they utilize that, because it's Ubisoft, isn't it? Division 2. So, like we said, they are at the forefront of utilizing all these Stadia technology. So who knows?
Definitely.
So moving on from that, let's just make sure there's nothing in the comments about that one. So Doom Eternal. Yeah. I think that one's going to be the game of choice for a lot of people in here. Am I right in saying that?
It's pretty much the first thing I seen that I was like, yeah, I'm getting that game. And that was before Stadia was really much more than just an announcement. I was just like, yeah, that's the one.
So Duncan was shaking his head.
For me, it's Wait for Sale.
Wait for Sale.
Wait for Sale has got that root all over for me. I do like Doom, but I can wait until it's cheap, because then the last Doom drop in price like a stone. It just went really, really quick.
Yeah, and I expect this one probably will as well. It's the series has kind of historically always done that. They release a game, it sells well, but not as well as they want it to, and then within no time at all, it's super cheap. But I just love Doom. It was probably my first ever real PC gaming experience back in the day.
I think because of the nature of the game, it's not so much. It's more run and gun, shoot first, ask questions later. There isn't too much technicality behind it, which means things like Destiny, for example, as we said, it's got a lot of end game, a lot of things to do other than you running and gunning. You know what I mean? There's PvP. At one point, they have the Sparrow League as well, where it's almost like racing. There's loads of things to do, so I don't know what kind of other modes this game's going to have to get people to stick around once they've kind of got a little bit bored of doing the same, you know what I mean, blasting everything inside.
Is this the first AAA that's being released day and date in Stadia?
Yeah, it's the first big game. We'll go
Date,
with
date, and time.
Yeah, and time. We had Supercross, remember?
DDT.
First one.
Yes.
That's going to be referred to as a DDT now, Chase.
Yeah.
Wrestling fan.
Just go back about paying prices for games. I have no problem paying full price for games when they come out. It's just some games I just don't see the short-term value. I think if you really like the game, you should buy it day and date. Just to get a bit of a debate going here, do you think you should buy, if you're really, really into the franchise and the game, do you think you should buy it day and date, or should you wait if it's likely to drop in price?
So I think, as a fan, if you take away gaming and just in general, if it's a product and it's something that you're a big fan of, I think a lot of people will just go to it straight away. Like most other sort of products, you generally don't wait. Technology is a brilliant example, like phones. Most people will go out and get the new phone as soon as they can, rather than think, well, if I wait a year, I can get that phone on a contract at 2/3 the price. But it's just not the way it works in tech, is that people just are happy to go and hand it over at cost.
Am I the only one that just buys new games on Stadia because I want to see how different it feels to other platforms? That's the thing for me. I want the 60 frame per second in Destiny, or I want to see how Metro looks in really good 4K or HDR. And I haven't really been let down either. I usually come away feeling like I enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, I did that for the Tomb Raider games. I've bought them on.
It just looks so great.
Yeah, I've got them on the PlayStation. I've got them on the Xbox. So I've beat them all, and I've beat them on Stadia. So yes, I replay games just to see what the differences are.
Yeah.
This is what Stadia needs, these day and date games. You're absolutely spot on there, Resurrected.
It's a good shout, because again, Stadia has to be able to show to people, why is it equal or better than what's out there right now. And if you're not offering games day, date, and time, DDT, as you like to say, then you're going to have the argument come up, whether we agree with it or not, of, well, I could just download the game by the time that you actually have it at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's going to be the argument. So they've got to challenge that and be out there in front of it. And the other thing too is, now you're starting to see what's the adjustment that you're seeing from a lot of these consoles. Now they're doing that preload process. That's how they're combating this argument, is, well, we'll let you preload the game 2 days before, and all of the downloads and all of the patches. So that way you just play right at midnight. So it's going to be a very interesting back and forth, I think, over the coming year.
Two things I would want to say is, the first one is, I want pre-orders on, so I can pre-order games in advance. To pay the money up front, easier to budget. That is the reason for pre-ordering, not because, you can just do it at the time. It's just easier to have it there, because you can't even do your Google Play cards if you haven't got Android.
I'll give you my PayPal and you send it to me. I'll
Of
let
course.
you have it near the time.
And the
I'll
second
look
thing
after it
here,
for you.
Smart man, Adam. Smart man.
the second one is the DDT Cyberpunk. What's going on?
Yeah.
Still
Watch
don't
Dogs
know.
2.
Watch Dogs. I think the Ubisoft games will be safe. It's a Cyberpunk because with GeForce Now, they have announced it. It's got ray tracing on GeForce Now. They need to get that announced ASAP that it's coming to end date. They've been eerily quiet, I think, regarding that.
To be honest with you, I think considering the pushback that they've already had with the game, I wouldn't be even remotely surprised if this doesn't launch till 2021, especially when you take into consideration the potential for the next gen consoles now to not come till next year. The game's not going to release without those consoles on the market.
Yeah. I think they've
kind
built
of-
the date for the game in the name of the game itself, so that's when you can expect it.
Yeah.
That kind of segues into our next section, actually. But before we move on to that, I just want to kind of say hello to Stadia Player One, Eddie. He's probably
Eddie.
disappeared from the chat now because I got to this a bit too late. But thanks for joining us for the short while. And Ashes.
Rectangle table.
I'll see myself.
Grab your coat. Get out of here.
Hide your face in shame again. No, thank you for joining us, Ashes. Yeah, much appreciated. So, Cyberpunk will be DDT. Where's that just gone? There we go.
2027.
So that's when it releases.
Absolutely.
So, as we were talking about recently, I think this is one of the main topics that Rokk and Chase were actually here to discuss with us today, and that is the potential for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 to be delayed until 2021, and also what that might mean for Stadia, if anything at all. So, anybody want to pick this one up?
I will do something here, just some context. It is caused by the coronavirus. The coronavirus
I
is
said it now. Supposed to say CV.
CV. Well, can someone do some breaking news signs for me? There we go.
That's the only one I've got to hide.
The CV is having an effect on Stadia now. In Spain and in Italy, they are now looks like they're hitting capacity, and they are having issues with Stadia in those countries. You can go onto the Reddit, Stadia Reddit, and you can see the list of the issues they are having. So it has been happening in Italy, and now it's happening in Spain. So more people are jumping onto the Stadia. So I let everybody else jump in now. So I'm just giving you that context on how it's affecting Stadia as well now.
I mean, this is kind of to be expected, and Rokks did a really good job of. Me and him were talking in Discord, and he's like, we kind of want to pump the brakes on this because it is speculation in a sense. It's coming from a reliable, what I would call a tech insider. That these people, when you see them come out and talk about this stuff, generally they've got people that have got very close ears to the ground to be saying something like this. So the expectation is this is going to happen. Like these consoles will be delayed. It's just now we got to wait on the platforms to officially tell us that they're going to do it. And again, it's no surprise what's going on with the CV situation with COVID-19. It's affecting these assembly lines. It's affecting the production lines. It's affecting trade. And I'll be very honest with you. One thing that's a little concerning, and I'm seeing it here in the States, and I don't want to take this off into a virus tangent, but if folks just think this is going to pass in 2 weeks, guys, this is not going away. It's going to take months. We're talking just the virus alone is going to take months. Like if you look at anybody that's like an actual doctor that knows what they're talking about on this is going to be like a winter. It's not going to be like a blizzard. So, and I'm stealing that from the Joe Rogan podcast. Don't sue me.
I'll be watching those as well.
So, but anyway, so, you know, when you start talking about 5-6 months that these potential factories and these actual fulfillment centers and these lines are being impacted, you're talking about a year potentially of an impact. So, you know, Duncan's bringing up the server blades. You know, that's to be expected because everyone's at home. They only have so many server blades right now, which is, I mean, I'm not shocked by that at all. But this console situation, anything that's physical right now is going to be impacted. That could be Chromecast, that could be controllers, anything that's being made over in Korea, in China, Vietnam, any of the, you know, the Asian countries that are big in trade, they are severely impacted right now. And I think folks just got to buckle up because it isn't gaming that's just impacted. That's where medical supplies come from too. A major amount of them come from there. So we are in for a major impact across the board. And sadly, you know, again, this is nothing to celebrate. And I saw some people on social media going, yay, this means it's going to be a good thing for cloud gaming. This is not good for anyone, folks. No one benefits from this. I'm not happy to see this at all.
And just add in there, this isn't just consoles or hardware; it is software as well. The amount of work which is done over in China and all around the world now, this is just going to slow everything down. So you're going to have a lot of games which are not going to be coming out this year now.
Yeah, it's like to follow on what Chase just said. It's like in America and Canada, they're already shutting down a ton of movies and TV shows alone due to this issue. To obviously make sure the cast and crew and everyone's as fine as possible for as long as possible, which means that it'll also affect, like a bit like Duncan said, the gaming industry. So it's like the new studio Stadia opened up in Canada. I imagine that will be closing down soon. Obviously not permanently. But yeah, it's like with the delay with the Xbox and PlayStation at the moment, while it is kind of a good thing for Stadia in the way that anything that is able to come out between now and the end of the year, let's say, obviously Stadia is going to be the number 1 platform for it. But I then forgot where I was going to go with that.
I think I mean, supply chain, obviously supply chain issues will hit hard. It's interesting because, of course, officially they haven't announced the PlayStation 5 yet, so it'll probably be the first console to be suspended before it's actually been announced. But I think the key thing is that you're right. It's not just going to affect the hardware, and even if, to be fair, even if they manage to make some significant units and you know, got so many out, there's transportation issues in one, you know, even without the manufacturing issues, getting them out of the country and distributing them, and I mean, Chase is right. You know, obviously, as you guys probably know, I'm in business, and the last 3 years have been tough in Britain anyway. This worries the hell out of me, and I've been through 3 recessions in my business career. The first time in a long time is really worrying me. And I think, you know, and don't forget as well, Ash, it's although there will be some delays, people still have PlayStation 4s and Xboxes anyway, so those games could still be coming out that are slated to come out, but you've still got distribution issues. So then it comes to downloading, and that's great, except in Spain and Italy we're seeing now that networks are overloaded, and they just can't cope with the capacity. You know, you wouldn't even want to start doing the modeling on this stuff. We can sit here and think of some really simple concepts, but trust me, what's coming, it's going to be like The Walking Dead without zombies.
I had that exact conversation earlier, and that was the exact metaphor that we used as well. It's just replace the zombies with CV, and the rest of the story fits perfectly fine still.
Yeah, we've got Dan's picked that up there. That's some of the positive, if you can go for any sort of positive sort of spin on it, is that the Americans are catching up to the rest of the world here and bringing in no data caps for the internet. So the land of the free is starting to become the land of the free.
But then on the flip side, like you said, servers were going to be getting overloaded. So that's both a bad point and a good point.
Rationed internet.
I also think that you are probably more likely to see server overloads in certain parts of the world anyway. I would imagine that the North America, Canada, UK probably have the largest quantity of available server blades, and then I think like the rest of Europe is going to be divvied out in smaller amounts. Not that that's fair, but just generally speaking, in fact, it doesn't even make sense that the UK does, because we're smaller than pretty much every other part of Europe going.
Special religions.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's we know that we get some kind of preferable things when it comes to these sorts of things, and I work in the electronics industry myself, and we've seen a massive problem with what's happened already. All of our factories that exist in the East are not able to ship product to us. It's not even that they're not allowed to. They just physically cannot get it out because nobody can go near the warehouses. So that then affects a lot of, like, say, other businesses down the line. This isn't going away anytime soon, and even when we get over this first sort of bout of it, it's still going to come back. It's not going to disappear. It's just going to go from North Hemisphere to South Hemisphere, back to North Hemisphere again, before we start getting that herd immunity or a vaccine.
One thing that's also probably going to happen, somebody just said it a second ago, and it's not something we've ever had to face in our lifetimes, something we've never even had to think about. But there will come a point, if this continues, where people are quarantined at home, and I'm really concerned about with China. They're saying that they're going to let people go back in a couple of weeks. I think that isn't going to last very long. They're going to end up doing another quarantine very quickly because of how quick moving this virus is. It's not a 1-to-1 spread. It's like 1 to 3. It's craziness. But but you could see internet rationing. Somebody was just saying that a moment ago, like intervaled internet, and I think that's a real possibility that could actually happen. Because electricity, you don't have. Yeah. Go ahead, Rokks.
No, sorry, mate. I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
It's a crazy thought, but it's absolutely realistic because there's not enough resources for the amount of people that are going to be physically at their homes. And yet you're dealing with my job, without disclosing where I work, we're going to be doing business work from home with network traffic. Your local switches that are by your houses, they're not designed to handle this type of network overload. Like when you work at a business, they're set up with specific business internet, specific business switches that are localized to, where that job site is at, where you're working. And this is just going to be a major pain point for a whole bunch of things, man. Like Rokk said, this is really, really scary. And it's not just from the health perspective, it's from an economic perspective. I mean, this thing is crippling all of the economic markets in every single marketplace that's imaginable. And I just don't see this going away anytime soon, which is even crazier and scarier to begin with.
So this brings me up to... Oh, sorry, Tommy, were you going to say something?
I was only going to say, I'm guessing it is Adam that's on the Stadia Game Review comment section. I don't know if this is the same over there for you, Chase. The whole toilet roll issue just not being possible.
Like, listen, folks, other people have got to have sanitation as well. Like, if they're not healthy, you're not going to be healthy. So be mindful.
State of Decay was right. Toilet roll is a luxury item.
They had just real quick, in all seriousness, they had a guy that they just shut down on Amazon that bought I think it was $1,800 worth of hand sanitizer, and he was selling it on Amazon for $10 a bottle, and they were like, "Nah, dude, you're done."
Yeah, it's
probably this stuff
people
is
are stealing it from hospitals as well, though.
Yeah, they were stealing it. Like, I was in a Publix the other day, like where you walk into, that's like our supermarket. The person grabbed the roll that you would normally use to, like, you call it a trolley, but we call it the shopping cart. That's what you just like wipe down the handle, and the person literally took it and walked out to their car. I was like, "You got to, this is where we're at now."
Or that wee boy in the school. Did you hear about the boy in the school?
Yes,
50p
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
He was selling a squirt of hand sanitizer for 50p, and he got suspended for it.
Hey, £9 though.
But he's got a kebab out in it.
I'm very clean friends.
So that brings me on to the next point, which I accidentally brought up on screen earlier, but let's bring it back up now. And some of your faces are going to get hidden for a second. I apologise for that.
Why can
I'll just cry.
So basically, we put an article up today, which was basically to do with how you at home can help fight the CV without basically very little effort on your part. And that is, I'm not going to go massively into it here. There is a video that you can watch if you want to know the ins and outs, but basically you can lend your CPU and GPU processing power to medical research, medical science, to try and kind of help combat this virus. We actually have set up a team as well, a Stadia Source team that you can join, and you can almost like compete for points just to kind of make it a game if you wish. You don't have to join a team. You don't even have to sign up. You can do it anonymously as well. But yeah, it's completely safe. And literally, it was Stanford University that have come up with this initiative back in 2000. And they don't just use it for CV as well. They use it for other things such as Parkinson's and cancer as well. So, I mean, if you've got one that's relatively closer to your heart, then, I mean, you can do that one as well. But yeah, I've downloaded it today. I'm going to be using it. And basically what it does is if your computer's idle, you can say, here's some processing power. You can give loads, you can give a little, whatever you can, or you can even do it whilst you're working if you're not doing something that's maybe like gaming, graphically intensive or processing intensive. So yeah, any of you guys downloaded it? I heard someone just say they did as well.
I did, and I've joined your team as well.
Have you? Brilliant.
Yeah, I've been running it since I put the tweet out the other day about it. It just doesn't cost anything. Like you say, you can set it to literally run only when the computer's idling, and you're not giving up anything other than benefiting people.
Well, the cost of your electric to run the computer.
Yeah.
That's
But if that's on already,
yeah. So definitely implore you to check that one out as well for the greater good. Obviously, it's entirely at your own discretion, but there you have it. So we've been joined by
Easy Wingy,
the glory of Stadia. All right, Wingy.
What's going on, Wingy?
I have a quick message for him as well. After he put me on blast on the podcast for not getting back to him about the stream back in the days, he ghosted me.
Since you've become a celebrity. So.
You know what? I do feel for him because I know, like, between the podcast and, like, I think he's been super busy and he's already got a crazy schedule as it is. So,
yeah, you wouldn't believe the hours he sleeps. 2 hours, 3 hours, unbelievable.
I don't know how he does it.
2 to 3 hours.
He's doing really well,
and he's still more energetic and lively than anybody I've seen in the community. So,
and you should. See
I only hope to be like you, Wiggy.
Love you, man.
Definitely.
He's phoning you.
Sorry.
Was that a Christmas?
No, it wasn't. Hold on one second. Let me mute my mic.
I was kind of hoping on Chase to kind of segue us into the next bit.
Everybody that breed.
I'm gonna say, if you give me like 2 seconds, because I know what's coming up. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I was going to say, I'm going to tell you how bad it is over here. They have now shut the pubs in Ireland.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. So,
So what happens now?
I feel for you, bro.
Yeah.
That means you can't even go to the Winchester and wait for this all to blow over.
Yeah, I set it up. That's what I was looking for, but yeah. But yeah, that's nice. Shut the pubs in Ireland.
That's crazy.
Wow.
What about
You
the Guinness
know.
Factory? I bet that keeps going, all right?
I don't
They're
know.
not shut for nothing.
Oh, that's the breed. Everybody, the breed chase here. He's on the phone. That's the breed.
Oh. That even better because you
I don't
can't
think
hear
it's
us
a
now.
lottery win.
Yeah, we'll make up our own conversation.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've never seen him with his headphone off. He's got ears, look.
I know.
Just the one.
Jesus. I don't know what was said. All I heard was laughing. So,
I
Have
was
you
just
ever
saying,
seen the
Chase,
bad
I've never
lip
seen you
reading
with the
videos?
headset off, and I didn't realize you had ears. It was
oh, I
amazing.
know. You should see me without. You should see me without the hat. It's a travesty. Probably would burn your eyes out. Oh, sweet Jesus! All right, I'm ready to go. Sorry about that.
So I kind of wanted your opinion on this, Chase, because I think you're probably the most excited out of anybody I've met, and that is for Baldur's Gate 3. So the AMA that was on Reddit the other day.
Yes.
So I kind of want your opinion on that. What were your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything like major Stadia related. Like when you go through the AMA, most of it was. I tried to kind of explain this on Saturday that like the baseline stuff with D&D and with Baldur's Gate, like it can really get in the weeds. I have like a very baseline understanding of the rule set. Beyond that, when you start getting into like the multi-character, the combinations, stacking, like all that stuff becomes super I don't want to say confusing, but it's very involved. Like you really have to have been someone that has played D&D for years. And it's not that you can't learn it; it's just really involved. But I think that the four major things, and I think I sent these over to you a while back, Dan, in regards to the big talking points, and I'll abbreviate them real quick. One was about the characters that were available in early access. So they actually said that you're only going to get the cleric, fighter, ranger, rogue, warlock, or wizard, and that's based off the 5e player's handbook. The itemization was another one. Let me open this up. So for itemization, it's not going to be like Original Sin. So they're talking about divinity. So the focus is on like handcrafting or hand placing stuff. There's going to be equipment that you can get that will have bonuses, but it's going to be limited so that they make what you get feel special, which I think is a good thing. I don't like it when everybody has the exact same thing. So that's actually a nice shout. And then I'm going to read this one in full context because a lot of people have asked, well, what's the difference between Baldur's Gate and like Divinity? So Jan from Lyrian said the level of immersion from the narrative to the depth of the systems and mechanics. We've never made a game before that brings you closer to its characters and offers more tools to the players to define the story the way you can in Baldur's Gate 3. This is really core, and the new version of our engine has allowed us to make huge leaps in every area of development. Not to mention, it's also an entirely different rule set. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons, in an entirely different setting, of course. And this is crazy, and it's a lot darker. You could do some really terrible things. So that's interesting. That's going to be really interesting, like with the crowd choice stuff, because like someone could roll the D20 and get you into some serious trouble with your character. And then the last thing was how much of the game are you going to be able to actually play, or what's going to be available during early access. And they said eventually we plan on releasing all of the first act in early access, though we will probably split it into pieces because it's pretty big in terms of content. It's bigger than Divinity Original Sin 2's first act, which is nuts. That was a huge first act unto itself. So I think the reason they're doing that is they want to get feedback at every point of the release that they do, like systematically. And they do that intentionally, just like they did with Divinity, to get feedback from the community, make tweaks so that once they get to the full launch of the game, again, they're kind of following along with what the community is looking for. And the D&D community is very demanding. So they're being very intentional by staggering this because they do not want to piss people off. And I think, again, it's the right strategy overall. So that's really it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Stadia-centric stuff in this. It was very much a deep dive into what the game would be doing. And I thought those were the four major points that kind of played into the community, that folks may want to know at a base level.
Definitely. Anybody else got anything to add to that one?
I still have to email them to see if I can get a wee studio tour and take some pictures and wave at Chase when I go into it.
Definitely.
It's not the kind of game I would ordinarily play, but I have to say it really does intrigue me, and I think it looks.
Chase
really
does sell it really well.
Yeah, well, he does sell it.
It's
Very
actually
well.
made me think
Yeah.
maybe I'm going to pick it up as well. So
Yeah, I may just break a habit of a lifetime and pick this one up. I think.
Is it
You know
because
that you know.
throw boots?
It's exactly.
So many people are buying it because of that one moment.
You know what turns people off on it though is because it's that turn-based combat. Like people think that that's like not because everyone wants real-time stuff, but I will tell you, the turn-based stuff actually has a lot of strategic elements to it because you really have to think 5 and 6 moves ahead, and if you do one thing incorrect, you could really get yourself in a tough spot. And he did that intentionally when he first was doing the demo, where he got up on the high ground, didn't hit him with a clean shot, so that the guy would kill him because he knew he would kill him. And that's exactly what happens. If you're not strategic about it, you will get yourself in trouble in that game. So,
See, for
well,
me,
I grew up on turn-based, so
yeah,
yeah, it's like that's one of the reasons that's majorly put me off that game. It's like I've grown up with Dan, and he's always played Final Fantasy, as far as I'm aware, pretty much every single one. Whereas as a series, it does look good, but I'm just not that into turn-based games. So it wasn't until Final Fantasy 15 came out where you could actually just play it however you like, which is when I bought it and completely love the game. But I think with Baldur's Gate, if it was more like that rather than turn-based, then I may actually be more into giving it a try kind of thing.
Yeah, it should be good. When's it coming out?
early access, I think, will probably, even though they haven't said anything, I think we're going to get it by July. That's my guess, because they're going to want to get everything kind of situated. They're still kind of tweaking some things in that pre-alpha set that we saw. And the full game, I mean, again, they usually do with these early accesses, and Duncan, correct me if I'm wrong, because we had talked about this. Usually it's about like 10 months out. So I would say probably by summer of next year is when we get the full game. And again, I don't know if Duncan wants to correct me on that, but
it all depends. All the games are different. There's games which have been in early access for like 5-6 years, or there's ones that's a couple of months. But I think you said before their last one, Divinity Sin 2. Yeah, was about a year, so they might go for like that.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
So the last topic on our list is Alex Hutchinson joining the Stadia team. So I know Duncan's kind of the master behind this one. You've done a lot of the.
Did you see how he sat back when you were describing it? Like,
Duncan, you like proper looked at his LinkedIn and everything. So I don't know why you're pulling that face. He's gonna leave me hanging now. No, I don't know anything about it.
I know nothing. No, I'm really struggling to set up now. To be absolutely fair, it seems to have happened last month, but I only noticed it on Twitter. What day was it? Thursday or Friday that he had it updated. So he's moved from. Someone say the name for me. The Triumph Studios or something. His team.
It's on the tip of my tongue as well.
Typhoon.
Typhoon, that was it,
yeah. Typhoon Studios, makers of the Journey to the Savage Planet, and he's moved from that into that role in Stadia now. So it's maybe bigger picture sort of things going on there.
He's head of creative, isn't it? Is he coming on board as
creative director?
Creative director.
So the man. I mean, do you think they bought Typhoon for him?
No,
that's a big purchase for one guy, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
See, what I've said about Typhoon, it was made up of a bunch of people who are heavily experienced in game creation and developing and all that. Doing like every one of them has done major games at some point.
Right. Okay.
So I think it was more of obviously they wanted Alex for Alex, but yeah, like you just said, they wanted the entire lot. Yeah. And I believe the company was out for 3 years with I forgot the name of the planet now. Journey to Savage Planet. That's it. That was then their first major game. So obviously, with who they all are, Alex, and the game itself, I think that's a big reason to bring them all on board.
Very interesting.
Do you think this will have any impact on Journey to the Savage Planet coming to Stadia? Perhaps.
Maybe. I think it's an interesting move though, because you generally see these cross moves happen when they do acquisitions like this. It's because they want someone that has an understanding of how that studio's inner workings work. You know, even though they bought Typhoon, they want someone that has the knowledge as it goes over to that studio and vice versa, someone that can work directly hand in hand with them and then speak the language of Typhoon to the higher ups, right, within Stadia. So it's expected, but yeah, no. To go back to your original question, I don't know. Like, see, this is the tough part about these games is you don't know what the actual agreement was at the time that they signed that game with these other consoles. So I don't know, and that hasn't been publicized. Like, we still don't know, like, if there's any type of like, God, I'm trying to say it and I'm losing it. Not necessarily exclusivity, but where it was only on those platforms to start. So yeah, exclusivity in a way, but.
And I guess a lot of it depends as well if they had the investment from the consoles. So you know they could have stumped a load of cash up front, and they're tied in for maybe 2 or 3 years. So we may not see it in the foreseeable future. But I don't think it matters. Clearly, they had a bigger goal, and that was the collective, as Ash says.
Or those handshake deals, right, Rock?
That doesn't happen, Chase.
You mean the elbow bumping?
We know nothing. Five-finger handshake.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Google at this stage to buy any studio for one person, if that person is good enough. I mean, I know I've seen people chatting, I think it was on Twitter, I can't remember now, about whether or not Google could afford to buy Activision. That's a definite no. The budget for Stadia is not big enough to buy a $46 billion company.
Well, Google could buy it, but
Google could buy it, but Stadia couldn't. And this is the thing. I know that Stadia is very much a Google product, but they are not running on the same budget. And there are a lot of people that are forgetting that Google may own it, but this platform has got to pay for itself. And Google are not going to throw an endless amount of money at this. However, strategically, buying out studios which are going to benefit the entire platform, as well as getting some of these great creative minds in place to help steamroll things in the future, that's not out of the question. And the more of these kind of development studios that we can bring in as well, the better the first party things are going to come out of it. We're going to get people working together then as well. Yeah. And they've got a serious plan in place. The fact that they're opening up brand new studios, they're hiring, they're bringing in very experienced developers. We haven't seen Xbox or Sony do that before. They're right, you've got the likes of Naughty Dog, but that was, they make good games, but The Last of Us was their pioneering moment, right? Before that,
Opus Magnus.
Yeah, absolutely. And that set them now for the rest of time, providing that The Last of Us 2 doesn't flop, which I'm 99% sure it won't. But could you imagine if it did? Then that studio would suffer based off of the thing that made them as famous as it was. And I think Google are trying to get an IP that is that for them. They want their Last of Us to come out.
It's interesting, isn't it, how we had the Kotaku Business Insider article a couple of weeks ago with our anonymous developer friend saying how indie studios were basically walking away from Stadia because they felt that they weren't being encouraged. And yet, what's clearly the case, I believe, is the complete and utter reverse. So we've just seen a slew of indie titles come to the studio. We're seeing them eyeing up indie collectives, as you said, Ash, people that have got history and legacy, who may have broken away from Naughty Dog and Ubisoft and so on, to set up their own initiatives, because it surely has to make more sense from Google's perspective to buy 40 of those independents with real talent baked in than to go after Activision or one of the bigger studios. And we've seen it, interestingly enough, down in my part of the world, with our rugby team, which I know is a complete left field comment, but my team, the Exeter Chiefs, they've only been in the Premiership of rugby for 10 years, and they've pretty much achieved everything because what they did from day one was look for the players that were being neglected on the benches, that weren't getting the game time, that had potential but were being overlooked because of all the really good, the sort of, showboaters. And my feeling is Stadia are looking to do a similar thing. So look for the collectives where there's talent baked in and nobody's spotting it, and buy those up, encourage those in. The complete reverse to the Business Insider article.
Here's something I would like to raise. That's what Sony are doing. That's what Microsoft are doing as well. Look at all the Microsoft acquisitions. Sony have now stepped it up, and they say they're looking more. Everybody is looking for them sort of ones, and just
So become an independent game developer. That's the key.
yeah.
There you go, Dan.
Chase has got his hand up. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, I was going to say I feel like I'm in class. I'm being taken to church. Actually, church was last night with the TGOS podcast. But the two things I want to say just real quick on this, and it's to piggyback off of something that Tommy was saying and something that Adam was saying as well, is that they're doing smart strategic acquisitions, and they're looking at within their budgetary means. They're finding things that they know are low cost but high returns. So that ROI, that return on investment. So they're doing those smart moves. And I think the one thing though that separates them out from everybody right now is when you start bringing in executives like a Shannon Studstill. That is a major, that's, forget about the studio component. Studios are great, but if you don't have people that know what the hell they're doing, you are in a serious logjam. And she is one of the best. She's probably in the top 5 in the world, in my opinion, in what she does. And again, she's not boastful. She doesn't come out and speak a lot. Where do her words come from? The games. The games are how she speaks to people. So I think they're doing all the right things. Like when they made that move, immediately, I'm going to be honest, I've been very critical of them. I kind of took a step back and went, oh, whoa, okay. You dropped some good cash for her, and she had to have seen something that made her go, okay, it's worth not only the money, but my time to come over to Google. So
with the acquisitions, I do believe Stadia does need a big one, and it's more just to get the IP. They need to get. For me, the one I would go after if I had a big open checkbook, it would
If you were Phil Harrison.
If I was Phil Harrison, which I am, I would be going after what's behind you there. I'd be going after Sega.
Sonic.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
Did you see his ears perking up? He's like,
the whole is Sega, because Sega also makes sense for Microsoft as well because of the PC and the console business. So you've got your football managers, you've got your pure PC sort of ones, and you've got your old school IPs as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if. Would this be my big prediction then?
It's a prediction of the episode.
The week is we're going
10 quid on that one.
Stadia will go after a reasonably big acquisition, a well-known, established studio.
That's too loose. You're not getting that.
I'm not getting that, no.
Unless you say...
Tommy is not playing around.
When it comes to Stadia, I think the thing I always try to do is to think what they're going to do and what they're doing is not what we have been used to seeing being done. So I think you can sit here all day long and say, over the last 15 years, this is what my business would do if I was in the games industry, but that isn't where they are. And so I always try to think around the curve. What would they do that nobody else would expect or suspect? Shannon was a classic one. And there's much more of that to come. And I think we'll sit here in a year's time and say, well, we never saw that coming. And that's the key thing, I think, with Stadia. And I think that's why they don't get worked up when they see all the negativity, because they're in the chocolate factory. I mean, we're sitting outside waiting for the golden tickets. They're in there. They see what's coming out. So, that gives me huge encouragement, frankly.
And you're basically describing what I was doing from September to December of last year, talking about how they weren't following a strategic business model. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding now. When you make a move like Shannon Studstill, I think anyone that has any type of a business acumen is going to sit back and go, holy crap, I think I need to shut my mouth now. And that's kind of how I felt. I was just kind of like, okay, so maybe now we start to see the actual business plan of whatever their business plan is, even if it, like Rokk said, even if it doesn't make sense to us of exactly what they're doing. I think the only thing I wish they would do is just key us in a little bit more. And there's ways that they can do that.
Yeah, Duncan, hurry up.
I was going to say,
Duncan Harrison. That's it from now on.
But don't forget, even with these acquisitions, it's going to be a while before we see anything fruitful come from them. So got to give them that time.
I'll just stay with Sega then. I'll go with Sega. Is that, are you happy with that, Tommy?
He's committed.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I would have thought the two of you were brothers, man.
Something.
Right. So I think we've reached the end of our talking point. So is there anything anybody else wants to add before we kind of wrap this up? Or
Xbox
Wasabi controller coming in 3 days.
You what?
Wasabi controller coming in 3 days.
Ah, you lucky man.
Yes. And as you said, Rokk, they've just given me the code rather than RMA return the founder. They've just issued me a code to purchase controller.
Is that why you were looking for your serial number on the back of the controller? I had a look at mine.
The Wasabi's the
impossible to see with your eyes. That should be the optician's test. Next time you go to the optician, can you read this?
Andy wants us to stay.
Just more CV news is Xbox Live Style. Again.
Right.
Second time in 2 days.
It's becoming more like Sony PlayStation Live, isn't it? Whatever it's called. It's not called PlayStation Live.
Plus.
PlayStation Network.
Yeah, that used to go down all the time for no reason.
This is just going to keep happening, though. I mean, this is
service normally.
Yeah,
but then you were saying
Sega, Duncan.
The full Sega, the whole shebang.
Alex the Kid.
Sorry, Ashley, you were beginning to say something there.
I was trying to. No reason that it could be going down is because obviously with the whole situation at the moment, obviously a lot more people are at home, making a lot more people then try to connect to the servers, which like when the 360 and the Xbox One came out, the Xbox One for sure, there was that many new people trying to join on day one that the servers were just messing up. So that's what that could be down to.
It's
you were with me for that as well, Ash, weren't you?
But, yes.
I was just going to say it's no different than a highway. I mean, again, think about when cars and you got cars, all lined up behind each other, and you've got the traffic jam. These servers are the same way. They can only handle so much capacity at a given time. So, I mean, again, I think what I was saying before a moment ago is this is going to be the norm for the next couple of months. I mean, I think folks just going to have to get used to this, and this may make us. We've been talking about the glory of cloud gaming, but now it may be how do we find some other alternative means to play some things? Might be pulling out the board games, Cards Against Humanity.
We'll just do this. We'll just we won't be able to, I guess.
Just look at the screen.
You just see the penny drop as you were speaking.
I was purely thinking about Stadia not being there, and then I was like, yeah, hang on a minute.
Voice chat through cellular mobile.
The joy in his face. He's like, at least we'll be able to. We won't even be able to talk.
We can always hug.
Oh, yeah, we can't even meet up in person. Sorry,
you say
Chase, you're
that,
too
it
far
sounds
away.
like
I know.
Chiefs fan over here may possibly be around my part of the world. It doesn't
Yes.
sound like it though.
No.
No.
I am very much. Are you in the same city as me then, or?
I'm North Devon.
Okay.
Lives next door.
Gonna say knock a knock knock, rap a tap tap.
Put on the accent if you want, boy.
Oh, can I just can you Rigor's comment there is first one? Sorry, my head's going here.
This one?
Yep. Remember, he's having issues in Spain at the moment, so they're not actually getting proper error messages at the moment. So maybe that. Sorry, I'm really struggling now. That APK, I can't say it, APK hasn't been updated, so they're not getting the servers are full or whatever. So that's just something to have a wee eye on.
Oh, the times we live in right now. It's crazy, man. Like it's absolutely crazy. We were watching the drive-through. Again, I'm getting off on this thing, but the drive-through testing, it's like something out of a freaking horror movie, man. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why? How is this real life? But it is.
Stay safe, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you, bro.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up then. Do you guys want to promote your channels? Jace, do you want to promote your channel?
Okay.
Can you promote your channel?
I you had the chance. Jonathan just came back.
Yeah, you can find me over at youtube.com/StadiaTalk. And then as far as on social media, twitter.com/PhantomUFCFan.
Which means he supports Man United.
It does not, Duncan. Now just cut it out. Jesus. This guy is he's like Liverpool till I die.
Not at the moment he isn't.
And Rokk, what about you? Oh.
Yeah, so thank you. So yeah, at StadiaRokks, as it says on there, that's the Twitter. I have a podcast that I'll be working on tomorrow, and that can be had from any of the good podcasty stores, StadiaRokks. I have a YouTube channel that has the extra version of that comes out on a Friday, so a few extra bits and pieces. And you can get to me on the website, which is StadiaRokks.uk.
Yeah, both of you guys do immensely good work, so definitely go and check
Thanks,
that
bro.
out if you haven't already. And obviously, as usual, we can find us on StadiaSource.com, at StadiaSource on Twitter and on Facebook as well. We have actually started to kind of put together a Patreon as well, if you're interested in that, which you can find a link for at the bottom of StadiaSource.com. So if you're interested, there's some cool benefits that will be coming with that as well, and we look to be adding more in the future as well. So yeah, that wraps up today's show. Thank you all for being here.
Support these guys, because what Stadia Source does is amazing, and it's literally the first stop, I think, for most people in the community every single day of the week. So get your checkbooks out. What the hell's wrong with you?
110%. Yeah, and don't give them just $1. You better give them 10.
Chase has signed up for 100 a month.
Hey! Don't push your luck. Don't push your luck. Just kidding.
Right, so I'm going to wrap this up now. So again, thank you for coming, and
Thanks for inviting us.
we'll see some of you in the future.
And don't subscribe to Stadia Arcadia.
As you
I was waiting. I was going to say, you cannot miss that on this one when you've penetrated so many others now.
Nasty.
right, goodbye everyone. Bye bye.
Take care.